In this video, we're going to talk about how do you run for Congress. Well, the truth is, it's not hard to run for Congress in most places. You get some signatures on petitions, or you pay a small fee, and you can run for Congress. Now, if you want to run for Congress and win an election to Congress, there are 6 key things that I'm going to share with you in this video. You need to hear all of them, so stick with me. Okay, so what are we going to talk about in this video? The importance of having influential people in your corner, the importance of knowing the job that you're asking voters to give you, the importance of knowing the jurisdiction where you're running, and I mean really knowing it. And then we're going to talk about your message, your money, and your advertising campaigns. You do all 6 of these well, you're going to go to Congress. If you don't, you probably won't. The first thing I have to mention, because it kind of comes first. Running for Congress, well, it's easy to do, but winning it is a little bit more difficult. Now, this is one of the things that most winners have in common. It's when they're running, they're getting support from really influential people in their community. Now, where do you find those people? Well, one, you may already know some influential people. So here's a simple way to find out. Go through your mobile contact list. Go take a look at your Facebook friends. Go look at your LinkedIn connections and make a note of those that are influential in the district where you are running. The second place to look are who are the influencers in your community who care passionately about who's elected to Congress. Well, I'll tell you who they are. They are political party leaders. We call them stakeholders. They care passionately about who wins an election for Congress. They are elected officials of your party. They care passionately about the candidate for Congress with whom they may have to share the ballot. They care interest groups. There are a plethora of interest groups that take an outsized interest in who wins a congressional race. The people who are pro-choice and pro-life, the people who are for gun control and the people who are against it, people who are pro-civil rights and pro-voting rights, and the people who believe more in states' rights. Now, who are special interest groups? Well, another word for them is affinity groups, or people with a vested interest in how Congress does its business and who votes what way on bills that come before Congress. 2 examples: people who are for gun control and people who are fervently in favor of the Second Amendment right. They care passionately about who wins an election to Congress. The people who are pro-life and the people who are pro-choice. They care passionately about who is elected to Congress. Now, if you want to know who these special interest groups are that care passionately about your race, well, go look at the contribution reports of people who've run for Congress in the past in your district, and you're going to find them there because they also give money. They are influential people that you need to know to help you get where you want to go. There are also civic and community leaders in your jurisdiction that care passionately about who wins an election. And if you have a diverse congressional district, there may be ethnic group leaders that are influential whose endorsement you might want. Those are influencers that you must court. Now, there's one other one that is true in a congressional race. If you're serious about winning, at some point you're going to have to go to Washington, D.C., and you're going to have to meet with either the Democrat campaign committee or the Republican campaign committee, because they have such a national fundraising network that if you're on the approved list, and if they decide that you've got a race that you can win, and if they decide that you're a great candidate, they can produce for you bushels of money. If you ignore them, they will ignore you. Oh, before we continue, I do have a lot more for you, but before we continue, I have just written a brand new ebook, The 12 Essential Steps to Prepare for a Political Campaign. Here's why you need it. All the people who win elections do every single one of these, and those who fail to do them tend to lose. You'll find the link to that under this video. Okay, so I said there were 6 points. Here's number 2, and it's more important than you know. You got to know what you're talking about. So that means If you're running for Congress, you should know the size of the federal budget. You should know the size of the federal deficit. You should have a pretty good idea where the federal government gets its revenue. You should have a pretty good idea where that revenue goes, how much goes to entitlements, what those entitlements are. They are Social Security, they are Medicare, they are Medicaid. They're very important to people who get those checks and the help that those agencies provide. And if you're clueless about them, you're going to look clueless to voters. You also should have some idea of what we call discretionary spending, military spending. You ought to have some thoughts about what you want to fix, do, change, places where you might cut the budget, programs that you think should be enhanced. If you don't know that information, what you're essentially saying to voters is, I want this job, but I have no idea how to do it. That is a very poor way to make a good impression. The second thing that you need to do in this category is make sure you're always up to date on news. Make it a point every morning when you get out of bed, do this first. Turn on your iPad or turn on your computer and glance at the headlines of your state and local paper and one or two of the national papers so that you at least have some idea what happened the day before. Now, why do you do that? Is because as you're out campaigning, these iPhones are everywhere. Somebody's going to turn on a camera, and if you're asked a question and you're clueless about some calamity that happened the day before, you're going to look dumb on video. That's not a good way to win an election. Third point I'm going to mention, candidates who win election to Congress are experts on their jurisdiction. They know who the major employers are. They know who pays what wages. They got a pretty good idea of how many people live in poverty. They're aware of any housing shortages that may exist. They know what people pay in property taxes. They know the age. They know the ethnicity. They know the race. They know the intricacies of their jurisdiction, the number of renters, the number of homeowners, even something about the household income of each individual voter. Now, why do they take the time to learn that stuff? Is because you have to be well informed about that in order to construct an intelligent campaign message and to construct an intelligent advertising program. So it makes you a better candidate to know it. It makes you more sensitive to what people are telling you, but it also involves your success on what I call the money, the message, and the advertising piece of your campaign. Now, let's talk about the message. Here's my truth to you. If you have a good message, you will gain traction. That will help you raise money, and the more money you have, the better your advertising will be, or at least the more complete it will be. So I'm going to concentrate a little bit on this message piece of it. Voters are going to have 5 questions for you during the course of the campaign. And they're going to expect you to answer every one of them. And if you don't answer them, they're not going to go looking for the information. They're just not going to ever know it. So what are the questions that voters expect you to answer during the course of the campaign? What makes you qualified? What have you done in your life that tells me you got your feet on the ground? How do I know that your moral code and your notions of right and wrong are in sync with mine? Because they're not going to vote for somebody whose values are completely out of sync with theirs. What are you going to do for me? Or what are you going to do for my state? What are you going to do for my country? Voters expect you to tell them that information. In your things that you want to do, the problems you want to solve, the wrongs you want to right, the injustices you want to correct, the things you hope to do that will elevate the quality of life in your community should be part of your campaign message. The fourth question they're going to ask you is, how do I know I can trust you? Well, they ask that question because they're used to being betrayed or double talked by candidates who do one thing and then do something completely different after the election is over. So increasingly, answering that trust question has become really important in a congressional race. So how do you do that? Can you tell about your own life that makes you passionate about fixing a problem that is relevant to the voters in your jurisdiction? If you develop that story and tell it well, you will gain the trust of voters, and once they decided they trust you more than your opponent, they'll be voting for you. The fifth question voters expect you to tell them is, why should I vote for you and not your opponent? Why you, not them? Make that clear to voters. Offer them a contrast between you, what they get from you, what they won't get from your opponent, what you are going to do that your opponent will never do, why you're right on issues that matter to them, and why your opponent is wrong. This is legitimate political discourse. Voters really appreciate it when you make it easy for them to make a decision. That is a campaign message. And I mentioned two other things here. All successful candidates for Congress spend a lot of time raising money. And in the initial stages of your campaign, more than likely that's going to come from your family, your close friends, and your relatives. Now, they will never provide all the money you need, but they should be able to provide at least a little bit of the capital to help get you started in a political campaign, to get your website up, get you going on the campaign trail, get you the list that you need, maybe one staff person, to get the campaign going. You can raise money with digital ads, you can raise money with emails, you can raise money with text messages, what we call direct mail, and certainly you can do small events like cocktail parties, dinner parties, or even celebrity events. Money will concentrate the mind when you need it and you don't have it. So one of the things that really successful candidates do is they put money on their agenda, and they keep it on their agenda every day of every week until the campaign is over. The final thing I'm going to mention here, item number 6, is your campaign advertising. More than likely, in a congressional race, you're going to delegate a lot of that to people that you trust to help you disseminate your message, and rightly so. Your learning curve will be steep if you've never done it before, and it's not a good use of your time trying to figure out how to run Facebook ads or place digital ads or TV ads and what have you. Make sure that you hire people whose only loyalty is to you. Make sure that you hire people that respect your wishes when it comes to disseminating material that has your name in it. Make sure you know how they are making their money so that you know that you're getting the biggest bang for the buck. Oh, one more reminder, be sure and get that free ebook, The 12 Essential Steps to Get Ready for a Political Campaign. It will be invaluable to you.